A 1979 F250 doing a zf5 conversion on a 460 big block. Same for the all big block motor size. So the 400, 460, I believe the 351M all have the big block bell housing. Do not get a zf5 for a 7.3. It's got these two bolts will line up, but if nothing else does, it's the wrong transmission. You can tell the 460 will have a threaded bolt here and a through bolt right here. This is for a 7.3, so it don't work. I also noticed on the one that's in the 460, it has an additional one of like a little indentation or detent, where you want to call it, right there. It'll be right here as well, so there'll be two of them. Spline's same size, everything works on the same. So you could technically drill these out and make it work. It's a little bit more difficult, but everything else is the same on besides a little bit of the gearings on the inside. Let's see here. Don't worry about the slave cylinder or anything like that until you get it in. I was dumb and drilled a hole up there and did it before I even had the transmission, which on a 79, your brake booster and your master cylinder are a lot bigger. So this is out of a 76 and it's a lot smaller, and you can get a aluminum master cylinder so it doesn't rust, so that's really nice. But for that scenario, you can mount the slave cylinder in the reservoir right there instead. I don't have the bracket done. I'll make another video on that. Oh, that's dark in there. But here's a clutch pedal, which moves a bracket up here, which I was trying to figure out a way to do it a couple months ago outside, and I figured out with that slave cylinder I can make a difference. So that I'll make another video on that. But that's why I said you can mount it on the other side instead of over here and not have that issue. But when mounting the zf5, at least on this one, the headers do fit on both sides. They're not too close, and the starter wheel bolted over there. There's enough clearance for it. But it sits over top of that cross member, and I have an aftermarket cross member here. This is a Stifler's for a 79 F250. And it just gets two bolts on the outside, goes through. It did sit a little low that I didn't like, so I put some poly bushings in there, or they're like a hard plastic bushing. And then I used a 90s transmission mount. And then you actually have to oval out these holes here to get them to fit. Otherwise, they're just slightly too wide, the bolts are on this. But I used a flywheel and a clutch off of a 94 F250 that has the 460 in it, and they bolt right on. And it's the regular old clutch. It comes with the bearing style pilot bearing instead of the brass bushing. Don't use that. There's enough clearance for a mount or a inspection cover here. Mine has a broken bolt I gotta get out on that side, but the headers do work. And then I haven't tested the starter yet. I have one of those, got a mini starter. I'm gonna see if it works up there. As you can see, there's plenty of room for it right there. And then a drive shaft is the next thing I gotta work on, because there's not a clear length for it. So like the rear on these 79 long beds are a 1 or 2 piece design with a slip style in the rear, but not the front. And with the old C6 that was in here, it had a slip style that went into the transmission on the C6, which this just has a U-joint here, which I believe is actually the same size as the rear U-joint on a 79. I haven't 100% tested it yet, but I'm still checking that. But So here's the rear slip style. So you have that movement so you don't get, like, it doesn't lock up or anything if you get at a weird angle. And here's the front one. So I'm going to attempt to measure this to see what the correct size I actually need. It's going to be a little difficult, but I can go from when it's mounted a center point here to the front. So that won't be a big deal, but I'll figure out the correct drive shaft lengths for that. Anything back on the inside, clutch pedals are out of 76. Another thing I noticed is if you take the pedal assembly out of like a 76 or something, take the master cylinder, or not the master cylinder, but take the brake booster with it, because the push rods are actually a different length, so they don't line up. Like a 76 and 79, the push rods are different, so they don't work. What else? I don't really know. When cutting this hole, I just went below with a like angle drill and drilled up directly above it, which gives me a perfect amount. As well, this truck has a body lift in it because this is actually just a two-wheel drive pickup truck. It has a body mount or body lift to get these valve covers to fit. Because I have this motor's been built, and I needed the clearance to get past there, so I put a body lift in it so it fit. But the zf5 does hit on the shifter right here. Otherwise, you'd have to get like a higher tunnel in here, which you could get out of like a 90s pickup, and you just drill the rivets in it, it'll pop out, and then you could just either cut the whole thing out or just cut a hole in it, a big hole and then a smaller hole in the top, which I would just cut the whole thing out if you do it that way. But otherwise, if you have a body lift, don't worry about it. You get this, which everything works in here just fine. So, but everything works that way. But, you know, it's honestly not that hard to do. It's pretty self-explanatory for the most part. I had some issues getting the transmission to actually seat on the motor, which this motor has a tendency to kind of lean back. I don't know. Don't look bad right now, but I have that transmission cocked up, so it's actually tilting this forward. So I had to have my dad come in here and put his foot in my bottom pulley here and push down to get that motor to tilt forward a little bit. But I will post another video with the clutch of how to get that linkage to work. Like I said, it'll be some sort of way it'll be pushing through all my previous owner's horrible wiring. It'll somewhere be right here because I got to get it past this brake sensor, so it's going to be somewhere's in here, and so when you push in the clutch, it'll push in there. And then I'll pre-drill a hole here for a pilot to make sure it clears everything on the outside. Remount that on the outside. Run the line down away from the headers, and then I'll have a working clutch. So that'll be nice. And then I gotta figure out drive shaft and everything like that.